If you don't feel good about your finances, you're not probably going to feel good about your mental health, and then you're not probably going to feel good about your physical health. It can all go all the way back to childhood, right? On like how you grew up and how your parents maybe looked at money, and you've adapted that same thought process. And just seeing that positive energy brings more positive energy. So there's a lot to be said around gratitude, of understanding the really important things in life. And it's not money.
Hi everyone, I'm Camilo Torres, and welcome again to Flow Community Podcast. In here, we're going to have amazing conversation with the beautiful people that has joined our community. We're going to get a lot of inspiration for the life journeys, passions, creations, because we believe that when you share your unique story, you can inspire others. So please enjoy this new episode, and also I would love to invite you to join our community. And if you would like to be part of this podcast, please go to our website, flowwithcommunity.com. Thank you. So please welcome Amanda Hackler-Roy. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good. Thank you so much for, be part of this podcast. And thank you so much for joining the community. It's my pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and having me on. I'm excited to chat a little bit with you.
Yeah, and I've been following you on LinkedIn and what you're doing, and it's very special. I mean, you're a financial professional coach, and it's wonderful what the connection that you have between our finances, our mental health, and physical health. But I would love you to explain a little bit more about that and your entrepreneurial journey and why you're doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of just give you a little bit of like background on me and how I got here and all that good stuff. So I actually come from 16 years in the retail industry. Started right out of college, fell in love with it, loved the pace, loved the speed, but I really loved the leadership part of it. That's what I was really passionate about. And I always wanted to run my own business. I just, as a 21, 22-year-old, did not know how to do that. And so I got into a business that I could learn from. And I loved it. And I actually got into human resources. And my last position was a human resources director. I loved it. I had 92 stores. I had about 16,000 people at like our holiday peak. And we did about 5 billion in profit. And so I learned a lot. I learned a lot of skill sets during that time period. And it was fantastic. But I had a 3-year-old little boy at the time, and he was attempting to get into sports. And so I also have 2 dogs, in case you're wondering. If you hear him in the background, but he was trying to do sports, and really I couldn't be present.
Mhm.
And so what I did was I made the decision that I could walk away. And it was because we as a family got ourselves into a financial space to where we could make those decisions and not feel like we had to stay at a job or career that we were ready to move on from. And so that's what I did. I was able to move on and enjoy a holiday season for the first time in like 16 years, and understand not working, during Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so it was wonderful. And then I was found on LinkedIn, kind of like, us getting connected. And they just asked, "Are you looking for a career change?" And I was like, "Sure." I did not study finance. That I've been passionate about finance for a while, but I wouldn't say I had that like background education. And so I was super curious and was like, "Sure, let me see what this is about." And I fell in love. Like, this is a way. I always wanted to say, like, I want to help people, not necessarily just help a company. And so I want to feel like I'm bringing value to other people in a really impactful way. And this is it. And, I had the human resources side of kind of a little bit more of that like mental and even some physical, like helping people, but now having the whole package together that I can help my clients, I can help my friends, I help my family. It really just makes it fills my cup. It makes me feel really, really good that I can offer that to people. And I know that if you don't feel good about your finances, you're not probably going to feel good about your mental health, and then you're not probably going to feel good about your physical health. And all of them are true. If you don't feel good about your physical health, then you're potentially not in a good space from a mental, and therefore you might spend your money on things that maybe aren't the best financial decisions, and now you're in a financial
Right.
spot. They
Mhm.
all connect and tie together, and that's what makes me so passionate about doing what I do, because I can help unravel some of those and get
And
them back.
individuals. So nice. I think we are a little bit connected as well because my journey, I'm a former architect and now I'm building this flow community, this
Yeah.
amazing community that I don't have any background in in building community
Yeah.
or doing podcasts or anything like that. I'm just I'm just going with the flow and I loving it. And every time that I'm evolving, I mean, flow is evolving, I'm evolving as a person. And as you said, I think I realize, and we all like you as well, like sometimes it's good to help a company, but then it's very important to help the individual because the individual might leave the company and it gets on their own. So the individual is their individual, and if you help the individual, they can evolve and start another journey. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and super important as well. Well, the finance, um, well, like getting into the matter and the importance of it. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people think, let's not worry about money. Yeah, it's the money is the last, but then I think it's a very such a strong energy that we need to think about it, and it's also respected that relationship. So yeah, so well, you were telling me about like the connection between the finances and mental health and physical health. But how is like the strong connection between the mental and finance? How is that
Yeah.
connection for you? How do you see it?
Yeah, great question. So you kind of just touched on that when it comes to the relationship with money. That's really tough because it's emotional. So one of the most emotional topics that we can talk about and think about is money and our finances. And so that's why it's a very I would say it can be debated. It's just driven a lot by that from those deep emotions, and it can, not to get too deep on you, but it can go all the way back to childhood, right? On like how you grew up and how your parents maybe looked at money, and you've adapted that same thought process. Some of them, it ranges from that money's not important and so they're not responsible, to um money is evil because I don't have a lot of it, so therefore I don't get the same opportunities as other people. You can really tie that back to the lot of the conversations around what privileged means versus non-privileged, things like that. So it's deep. It's very deep for people, their relationship with money. And I there's always that saying that we say, like, money doesn't buy happiness. And it's like, yes, well, first and foremost, happiness is not a tangible thing. So you can't,
Mhm.
correct, you cannot buy something that is not tangible, right? But money does cause potentially a happiness emotion when you're in a happy place, because you can do what you want financially. You feel safe, you feel secure, you feel like you've taken care of your family. You are able to breathe and relax and go do the things that bring you that happiness. And so trying to teach that money is not the evil part of this, but unfortunately we live where we have to have money to have things like a home and sometimes education, whatever those pieces are. And if I can help you look at money as a tactical strategy that we're just going to put together to get your money working in the right avenues for you, then that can take some of that emotional pressure off of the conversation. And that's really what I'm looking to do for my clients. Of it doesn't matter where you're at financially. I have people making $500,000, but they give 65% of it back to the government. So they're working real hard to give a lot of their money back. So how do I help them there? And then I have clients that have no savings account. They really don't have much. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And we're just going to talk about how do we earn a little bit more money? Where do we maybe need to save some money? Maybe it's budgeting, whatever that is. But everybody can get to a place where they feel financially independent. You just have to put some work into it. And so I'm here to help guide and do that. But it is an emotional connection, and that's directly what ties into our mental health a lot of times. So how do I get those tracking together? And then we get physical, that probably gets on in there too, right? You're able to, nowadays you're actually able to buy the fresh food where, because of the expenses in the grocery store, sometimes that's not an option. So how do we shift that culture?
Totally agree. Totally agree. I think what you said about being emotional, I mean, I personally been in this in sometimes in that stage.
Mhm.
And sometimes you feel like super like growing and spiritually and anyway in a really good place. But when it's a day of a week that you think that you're not going to receive the same amount, or like you don't feel comfortable in your
Mhm.
finances,
Yep.
then the development that you were working on, if you let that energy to affect you, it will completely go the other way. Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me personally, I take it as an energy. And I think if you're starting thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to receive the same amount. Well, it's not, you don't have nothing to do in the stressing out. Like, let's sort out the problem or let's find solutions rather than starting like breaking mentally. So yeah, it's you're on point. And then yeah, totally. And then the last thing that you were saying is, well, and then you said before, the connection between, well, our finances, our mental health, and our physical health.
Mhm.
How do you like, in terms of the physical health, how do you relate those three? Those
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot of components to physical health, right? We can talk about it in a lot of different ways. Diet and exercise is the top two that we really talk about. Um, the way that finance to me connects is specifically finance. When you have your money working the way you want it, the way you need it, it's in the right places, you can have more time to your life. And so, for example, people that are working multiple jobs, it's like, let's get you to working one job to where you can financially have the time to potentially go work out, to go on a walk, to go, live your glory days back of your high school sport, and you're like, oh, I'm back in softball or whatever. It's like time usually is what stops us from a physical perspective, as well as the exhaustion that comes from potentially grinding it out, working all day. By the time you actually get home, you're exhausted, so you're not ready to go do those physical pieces, and it's a vicious cycle. And so the financial independence of you are not relying on just one thing, like just one job to support you, that allows you to make some of those decisions to say, like, you know what, I am going to go take that time off, or I am going to leave early, or I'm not as exhausted to where at the end of my day, I do stop by the gym first before I come home because it's not 8 o'clock at night. And that is a really big motivation, like positive result from having your finances in a good place. And then that's a negative result when you don't. You also probably can't afford to go to a gym. You can't afford to have a personal trainer. It is expensive. Like, it can
Yeah.
be really expensive. And so again, that finance unfortunately can hold us back from actually doing the things that would make us feel better and healthier. And again, I kind of touched on it too, with like the cost of really eating clean and eating healthy. It is way cheaper to actually, and specifically here in America, it is way cheaper to eat terrible than it is to buy the healthy groceries and spend the money on fresh meat and fresh vegetables and fruits and things like that. You could, when you see a canned item for 97 cents versus $3.50 fresh, you're going to have to do what you got to do, right? And so um that's a whole nother connection. And the time, again, even just to cook, I'm a working mom. So I'm a working mom, and I have my son's about to be 5. So he of course thinks he's a full-on adult at this point. Yeah. And he eats like a full-on adult at this point. So I have to make those decisions on, what's the right thing for me that I want to be able to provide for my son. And sometimes it is cooking, and then there's times when it's not cooking. And how do I balance that? And everybody goes through that. And we have lots of things that unfortunately our money goes to because of exhaustion, like food delivery systems. They're so expensive because we don't have the energy to cook. And so it all just kind of gets tied into those pieces, but time and having some time freedom because of where you're at financially, to me, is a really big key to that physical health.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think, yeah, I mean, I can't, there is not much to add because I'm completely agree with you. But then, while you were saying that, what happened in the opposite? What happened when people has a lot of money and they're not mentally or physical in the right level of health, of mental and physical health? Um, should we talk a little bit about that? Because I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, I personally suffer the opposite.
Yeah.
But then there is a lot of people that has a lot of money, and they might go very, like, they have it all, but mentally they're not strong enough, or stable enough, or physically. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of different scenarios, right? There's those that maybe grew up with wealth, and
Mhm.
so they've just known wealthy their whole life. And then there's others that became wealthy. So when you think about uh anybody famous, right? They weren't necessarily always famous. They became famous and then earned a lot of money. And that's when you see, it's really interesting to see how many, what you would think successful, wealthy, you know, famous individuals are actually going bankrupt and are living beyond their means. And that has a lot to do with, again, your relationship with money. How do you actually control the need of, I deserve this,
Yeah.
versus the, is this what I need? And there should be some of both. Like if you've done a great job and you are successful and you have a lot of money, then absolutely you deserve to be able to enjoy that and
Mhm.
enjoy that fact, right? You earned it. But money will run out. So if you do not continue to earn the way you need to earn, or it's a one-time thing, right? Like, I don't know, one-hit wonder, bands, you should probably take some of that money and get it working in a really great way for you, so that you're not having to count on things that are variable. Like I'm commission based, and so I have to be really strategic with my money because it's not a every 2-week paycheck. And so there's a
Mhm.
level of responsibility and education that comes with money. More money is really more responsibility and sometimes harder decisions. When you are someone that grew up in wealth, there is a lot that don't understand the concept of um, what it takes to stay wealthy. And so if they grew up and were never taught about money, how money works, then they don't do the right things, And when things happen, like the stock market decreases or the stock market crashes, and you lose 40 to 60% of what you thought was your future money, then they don't know how in that moment to get the money back. And then they start having a negative relationship with money, when before it was, it comes out of a waterfall, or what we always said, like money
Right.
does grow on trees, in their mind it does. And so there's a lot of, I would say, the core that I see with people that have either way, either grew up in a really wealthy lifestyle or became really wealthy, it's that key word of responsibility. They've never learned responsibility with their money because they've never had that much money to know what to do, or two, they've never had to worry about budgeting. They've never had to worry about, their future retirement. They're not thinking about potentially their children's children's. They're not there. And it's a level of like maturity and responsibility that we kind of have to reteach in those moments.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. And I think, um, I mean, I feel like these people, when this happens, I think it's a lot of like if you're in the right mental health balance, or and physical, because sometimes the physical affects, but I think mental health and spiritually you are in the right direction. And if you lose a lot of money, then the reaction about that is going to be much way better. You're taking it like slow and okay, let's take actions about that. But if you're not working on your mental health or spiritual growth or on inner growth or whatever you call it, then that's it. You collapse and then the war finish. I think that's like the relation, and then also well the physical. It's very important as well because your body is so important.
Mhm.
If you don't have a strong body, then you can work, and your body is very well connected with your mind and your soul. And then anyway, um, so it's very special. Like consider those thriller relationships 100%. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, and okay, so with that, okay, talking about the energy of money, do you think that energy will help somehow creativity?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So I definitely believe from personal experience, but just seeing that positive energy brings more positive energy.
Mhm.
It does that with people in your life. When you have positive people in your life, you attract more positive people in your life. And it does that even financially because you're not weighing yourself down in the negative moments. You're celebrating the positive ones. And so that energy changes. We all know that you can feel an energy from somebody who is enjoying life or themselves in that moment and those who are not. And if you are surrounding yourself with individuals that take your energy from you, I call them energy vampires. If you've ever read the book, The Energy Bus, it's amazing. It's my favorite. And that's like one thing that I lean on a lot is I'm like, ooh, that is an energy vampire. Like when you're done talking with that person, you feel exhausted. And it's literally because they took that energy from you. And so when you are a positive energy source for people, they are going to be a positive energy source for others. And it kind of just builds this culture and this foundation. And so when you're talking about, again, when you think about finances and that positivity with it,
Mhm.
um, if you are just an unhappy individual in general, you're not necessarily going to think of the things that can get you out of some of these potential, unfortunate positions you're in because you're so blinded by the emotions of like anger or fear, or jealousy, all those negative, connotated emotions. They block you. They actually block your creativity because all you're doing is sitting about what you can't do. So it's kind of like you have to start thinking about what you can do. And we have to remember our imaginations and we have to remember how to, people say how to dream. I'm like, well, can you just sit and picture it? One thing I do with my clients is, I'm like, what's one thing? This is a question I ask all of them. What's one thing that you would do um, if money wasn't an issue? And you can't do it right now because money is an issue. So if you think about the one thing, and most of the time it's travel. People are like, oh, I travel,
Right.
right? Again, time, got your time back. Probably physically able to travel and go to extreme, awesome places. And then you financially are in a good spot. So it's travel. It's like, okay. But I'm like, I want you to, so what's the first place you to go? And let's just say mine would be like Bora Bora. I want to go into one of those huts that you can only get to with a boat, and you're just like in the middle of the water and nobody knows where you're at. The freedom, right? The freedom is what I want to feel, right? And so I'll literally say, okay, I want you to think about it. And I want you to think about the way it would feel. Is it warm or is it cold? What does it smell like? What do you think you would eat there? Like, and you really start to get them to imagine, like, ooh, I really want that. And that could be a thing. And it's like, yeah, let's work towards that. So I want you, whenever you start to feel like this isn't happening, I want you to go back to that space and be like, ooh, I'm going to get that. I'm going to go there. I want to go there. And if you're not in a positive headspace, you're not going to potentially probably talk to people about it. You're not even going to ask for help. You're not going to see the resources that may be right in front of you, or even some of the solutions that are right in front of you, and you can't see them because you're a bit blinded. And so energy is very, very important to understanding how to either take it to the next level or you actually drop a level. And we all go through that. We all have ebb and flows. Nobody is like, oh, I'm positive all the time. Like that's, I don't
Yeah.
believe it. I don't believe, even if they say like, oh, it's always good. I'm like, I don't know about that. So, but it's the reason why some people think that is because it's how much time they give the negative. If you're giving all your time and your energy to the negative, you're gonna stay there because you're doing it. You're doing the things. If you just do the things to the positives, you will see outcomes. It will happen. Things will change and you will see outcomes. It's just proven. So
Yeah.
energy is 100% attached to that.
You're on point. And I think the mindset of you change completely all the circumstances that's going to happen. And that's, I think, well, not just with money, with everything, with relationships, with everything you want in life. If you think, I think, I mean, we talk about, like, of course, money is very related to wealth,
Yeah.
but I feel wealth, if we see it that way, is a very special energy, and it's very important to be always in that state, because also there is the lack, the energy of lacking. And if you're starting always thinking that you're lacking everything, then of course that's what you're going to attract to you. And then if you're in a position of wealth and good energy, and even if you don't have today or tomorrow, you're not going to get paid the same or anything, you just react in, okay, it's fine. I'm very grateful with what I have. I have a roof. I can eat. I'll sort it out tomorrow, and then maybe tomorrow is going to just do something special, and that's it. And magic will start happening.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things, like, especially me learning, like being commission based versus, a consistent paycheck, of the word wealth is a different definition than I think we immediately think of money. And to your point, wealth should be in lots of aspects. Do you have any friends that you stay connected with that care about you and you care about them? Well, that is wealth. Like, that is a different type of wealth. Do you have family that's still alive that you're in contact with, that you get to talk to? Well, that is wealth. And so there's a lot to be said around gratitude, of understanding, the really important things in life. And it's not money. That's not the most important thing in life. Important thing of life is how you get to live it. And so that's what I want to get everybody. When I say financial freedom, that's what I mean, is that you have the freedom to live your life and you're not held back by money. And so the definition of wealth starts to change for you. If you got to go see a different country than when you were at any point in time in your life, that's wealth. If you got to go get education, that's wealth. And so understanding that word is really important to being able to let go of some of that negative energy and that negative feeling. And when I have a day that I don't earn, or I don't get a paycheck, or, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, or my client doesn't show up or whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this to do something else that's going to be a positive reaction for me, whether that is reading a book, and it may not even be a business book. It's just a fiction book that I get to read, and I feel wealthy because I have the time to sit and read a book, or take my dogs for a walk, or shoot, if I get a night that I can Netflix and binge, like I will do that because I can.
100%. Yes. Yeah.
So it's understanding what you feel like is wealth to you and what's important to you. And everybody's different. But it's not necessarily the actual dollars. It's how we get to live our life.
Yeah. I love that. And thank you so much for the amazing conclusion. I think it's very important to take that as a consideration about wealth and gratitude. And I think being knowing that there is abundance in our life, there is access to everyone can access that. And yeah, it's never going to finish. Like, look at this planet that's beautiful, that we need to look after it, of course.
Yes.
Otherwise it will turn to us.
Yeah,
But it's giving us a lot of resources. So yeah, there is everything for everyone. So yeah,
there
thank you.
is.
So Amanda, where can people find you, and where can people get your advice and your coaching service?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the only Hackler-Roy, so don't forget the hyphen, but it's Hackler-Roy. I'm the only one, so you won't have to like figure out who I am.
Okay.
um, as well as I am on Facebook. And I do have an Instagram, but that's less business. That's more personal. But you can see my personal life too. Like that's fine. It's why it's public, right? And so those are probably the three main ones. The other option is I'm always good with even a text message if you want to introduce yourself. That is, more the age that we're in. Emails, pretty much every base of communication. I'm attached to, so I'll be able to see your messages and get connected with you. And again, when I sit down with my clients, I don't charge my clients so that I can help everybody. And if I'm trying to help you get out of debt, that would be really weird for me to ask you then to give me some of your money when you are in debt. So I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So I get paid by the companies. The companies are the ones that have the money and they can afford to give me those paychecks. So
Wow.
if anyone's hesitant to say like, well, I don't really know, if now's the right time or whatever, we can just have a conversation. And we can have a conversation and we can figure out if it's the right time, or if we need to schedule something for the future. It's either way. I'm here for you, and I'm here to help work with you. I'm also though going to keep you a little bit accountable. So I will do that. I get a little bit of sometimes I can be a little bit of a mom to everybody, but that's really because I care. I care and I want to help. So yeah, any of those ways are perfect. I don't know if there's a way if you want me to leave like phone numbers and things like that, I absolutely will.
Super. I will make sure that in the description of this podcast, everybody has access to your LinkedIn, and then yeah, to get to your services. So to end our podcast, I have three questions for you. So those questions you can respond with one word or one sentence.
Okay. Like this.
Yeah. So let's start with the first one. What is creativity for you?
Ooh, I like that. What is creativity for me? Um, Freedom. I'd probably sum it up like creativity is freedom to
Love it.
think and do whatever.
100%. What is your current creative expression?
Ooh. This one it might feel abstract, but it's what I love is building a team. I absolutely love leading people in a sense of I love developing. And that is the creative point for me is how do I develop different individuals who need different things at different times, that have different personalities and different priorities. And that to me is like, I love that. I love
And
that space, and that I get to be really creative of how I can lead them and help them be their best selves.
yeah, that's super creative. And yeah, of course, that's, I think a lot of people think creativity is only like painting or writing or cooking, but then no, that like mm, building a team, building a company, uh, doing a coaching session, that's
Yeah.
creativity. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, don't ask me to paint. You'll be like, she is not creative in that space. That is not, it's not my jam. Like that's why I love art, because I value that skill set that I do not have. So no, that's not my skill set. Nope.
Super. And to end, what flow means for you? Flow as the word.
Yeah, I would say the first thing that comes to me is like a creek or a river. Like that, if you really were to get kind of spiritual on it and really think about those things, water in itself always finds a way, right? It always finds its way to the ocean. And no matter what the roadblocks are, they'll figure it out. They either go over it, around it, under it, whatever. And that to me is really the definition of flow. And that's kind of the flow of our lives. And that's kind of that's why I love this. And I love talking to you, because it's like everybody's flowing. It's just, did some stop, or are they getting towards the ocean? Like, where are we at right now in our lives? And so that's what that word flow means to me.
Oh, love it. Love it. Wow. Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you so much for this amazing podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me and letting me kind of share a little bit of my opinions and my thoughts. I love talking about this, and I love what you're doing, and what you're doing for the community. I think it's just incredible work. So thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.